Hello and welcome to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. We're live from Buffalo Wild Wings here in Ashland. I'm Cade Krakis, joined alongside Coach Geiser and former head coach Lee Owens.
Hi, Cade. How are you? It's good to see you
It's
again.
good to see you as well. Well, first and foremost, it's a surprise to see you here. So what have you been up to? What have you been doing as of late?
Oh, my goodness. I've written a book. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit later. But it's been fun to go back through my career and talk to a bunch of guys I coached, a bunch of guys I coached with, a bunch of boosters who support our program about what they did to achieve excellence, and then share some stories about what we did at Ashland and other places to put championship teams together. It was fun doing it.
Yeah, and we're excited to talk about that book today. We're also excited to talk about the traveling trophy, the history behind that, a little bit more in depth on the AU football history with you joining us here today. Coach Geiser, we've got a lot of things planned as well, talking about the recap of the UND matchup and then previewing Hillsdale. First and foremost, your thoughts heading into today and what you guys have been doing as of late.
Well, it's a typical weekend for us, so the outcome with UND was not what we expected, not what we wanted. So you go back and you kind of break down the tape. We did that all day yesterday and make your corrections, and from there, what you tell the players, hey, once you leave the building on Sunday, you turn the page. It's all about Hillsdale, and so that's what we're on to this day. Today's a big game plan day for us, and we'll have our first practice for Hillsdale tomorrow.
Of course, and who'd you bring for us today? Who's coming on the show today?
Well, we have our secondary coach, one of our secondary coaches, Don Orsini, who coaches our safeties, and one of his players, EJ Tia.
Perfect. Well, it should be a great show. We got Coach Owens here, we got Coach Geiser, got Coach Orsini, and then EJ Tia joining us. Should be a jam-packed show. But Lee, I got to ask you, before we go into our break here, outside of that, what do you thought about how Coach Geiser's done here?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I was going to get that in one way or the other. The transition to Coach Geiser's, something. And he totally prepared for, and he's done such a great job with. I hadn't had a chance to tell him personally, congratulations on the IUP win out of the gate. Something we couldn't do together.
Yeah.
We battled him 4 different times and didn't come out with a win, and for him to be able to do that, it was awesome. First playoff game on the road win a year ago, and then obviously the bowl victory. So he's taken the program, which is what you want to have happen when you move on or you do something different, you retire. You're hoping that your staff and the next head coach could take that program to the next step, the next level, and accomplish things that you weren't able to do, but you laid a path there for the next guy to be able to follow. And I think Coach Geiser's doing a great job. I'm really proud of what he's done. And there's no question he was the coach of the year last year, I think a guy like he's doing a great job again this year. Also, it's early in the season.
Yeah.
He's right. Turn the page. Go get Hillsdale.
Exactly. He'll definitely talk about it a couple different times. But 1-0 every week. That's the motto that we got here. So we'll step aside. We'll all join you back here soon. We'll get you Indy out of the way and then turn that new page into Hillsdale. Make sure to stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, right here on the Eagle Network.
What's up, GMAC fans? I'm Katie Gahuli, host of the Talkin' GMAC podcast. We hope you'll join us each week for all things GMAC, from interviews with current and former student athletes to headlines and highlights from around the league. Find the Talkin' GMAC podcast on the Great Midwest Digital Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, right here on the Eagle Network. I'm WRDL correspondent Louis Tamira.
And I'm AU TV correspondent Bryce Gatton.
And we're sitting here with Coach Geiser. Coach, we've got a couple of questions for you as far as that UIndy games go.
Absolutely.
So let's just kick things off. We're going to go kind of, position group by position group. So let's start off with the infamous quarterback position. Cameron Blair had its ups and downs. 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. Just overall thoughts on his performance.
I think he battled. I mean, if you know Cam, he's a warrior. And, initially, I don't know if you could tell by watching the broadcast, it was pouring down rain. And so we kind of had to change our game plan a little bit the first couple drives, because trying to catch the ball is like trying to catch a grease pig. And so, having to change what you prepared all week going into the game takes a little bit of certain mental toughness. And with the weather there, battled through it. And if you know Cam, he doesn't whine, he doesn't complain, he doesn't know woe is me. It's like, hey, coach, let's keep playing and we'll fight. And as you saw, it kind of rallied in the second quarter and the third quarter, and then did throw a couple picks. One was right at the end. But he's our leader, unquestioned, and it's another step in the progression. With him, it was his 4th game he's had as a starter, and so he's building on. You can see even progress from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we're excited for this week with Hillsdale with his performance.
Awesome.
Yeah, now kind of taking a look at your receiving core. You had 8 different players catch a pass on Saturday against UIndy. Is that something you kind of talk to your quarterback room about, like maybe trying to spread the wealth a little bit, or is that just kind of a read and react thing from your QBs?
It's a read and react thing. It's a matter of, you go through your progression and you're calling certain, contrary to popular belief, you're not calling it to get to a certain person. Okay, you're calling a route to basically attack a certain coverage or attack a certain player. And so whatever that combination says, whatever the reaction is, you're going to make your throws based on that. So now, there are certain routes where you have people in certain places that that might end up going to a Jen Joseph or a Jamari Kroom or a Johnny Maramie. But overall, you got to stay within yourself right there. Don't force it. Just take what the defense is going to give you.
All right, sweet. Yeah, now moving to that run game. And one less attempt, you guys outrushed Indy by 75 yards. So any guys you want to credit on the ground there?
Well, that being the case, first thing I'd probably credit is our defense.
Yeah.
They've done a tremendous job the first 2 weeks against the run. Now, obviously, having 8 sacks helps, so that takes off their rushing yardage. I would say right now the run game's a work in progress. Okay. It's not quite to the level of efficiency that I wanted at this point. We did outrush them, yes, but it's not to the level that we would like it to be. So, we've really kind of, yesterday after watching film, we've laid down a challenge. We need to pick up our game there. Whether it's not just offensive line, it's also running backs, it's the tight ends and the fullbacks. You got to step up your game.
Sure.
And we know those, playing up in those first 2 games, you're playing perennial playoff teams. And they're really good defensive football teams, especially against the run. So we realize that. You take that, but there's got to be a sense of urgency going forward with that part of our offense.
Sure. Yeah, now I kind of just want to take a step back and look at the offense as a whole.
Yeah.
Blair had 41 pass attempts. She's had 35 rush attempts total. How do you find a good balance between the throw and the run when you go into a game like that, especially with the weather changing, like you just mentioned?
Well, one thing I learned from Coach Owens, it was here in the first segment, as far as when you learn offense, is balance isn't necessarily equal run and pass. It's the threat of run and pass out of every formation or personnel group. And some days, balance might be throwing the ball 50 times. Some days balance might be, running it 50 times. It's just a matter of what's the defense trying to take away, where are our best matchups, and given the illusion or given the threat of run or pass out of each so they can't cheat. That's probably the biggest thing.
All right, now we're going to shift that focus to the defense here, and we'll start off with the D-line. Another 3-sack performance by Mike Shimmick, 8 sacks in total, like you talked about.
Yep.
What does the game plan look like, as far as confidence with that defensive line coming into each game?
Well, I know this. It all starts with Coach Rose and his staff. And Coach Rose is in his 62nd year of coaching, which is amazing. He's probably the most energetic guy on staff. The proverbial he's forgot more football than I'll ever know is true. The thing that makes him who he is, though, is the way he researches and stays on the cutting edge. Okay. And so everything starts with a plan he puts together, and our defense throws a lot at every offense. We see it in practice every day. We see it in spring practice. I don't know how you prepare for some of the things he will give you in just 3 days of practice. And that's usually what each team will go into that game. So he puts our guys in a great situation where they don't have to think. They run around and make plays. And you're seeing the kind of fruition of that with Mike's performance the last 2 weeks.
Sweet.
And now on the special teams, you have a redshirt freshman kicker and Manaki Watanabe. How much has he impressed you, especially after the last game? He hit both of his field goals and both his PAT attempts. How much has he just impressed you and really stepped up into that role?
He's impressed me probably first and foremost with his mentality. He keeps his poise. He's not rattled. knock on wood, okay, going forward here. But he just kind of takes everything in stride, and he's extremely confident, kind of a happy-go-lucky personality as well. And so that more than anything else tells me he's got a chance to be pretty good, because he's got the ability, as we've seen. But it's a matter of staying within yourself and don't get inside your head. And it looks like he's got that, at least through 2 games, he's got that trait.
All right, and then final question here. We're going to start shifting our focus here to the future. So simply, now that we're getting into conference play, how do you guys need to improve, and how do you guys need to get ready for this next game?
Well, from what we looked at this game, obviously you don't like to lose. We put too much time and effort into preparing for every single game. But you tell the guys this, say, hey, even with the loss, we've lost to two ranked football teams that'll probably be in the playoffs. All of our goals we set for ourselves this season are still in front of us. And so we're not worrying about IUP or Indy anymore, even though one was a great game of elation, the other one was a little disappointment. We're on to Hillsdale because they deserve all our focus. It is a rivalry game. It is a proverbial throw the records out the window. And if all of your effort and your focus is not on them, that's disrespectful to them, and they're going to come up and bite you. So it's we're all on to Hillsdale at this point, and we're pretty excited about that, having the opportunity to play the Chargers.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we got for you, Coach. So, thanks for answering them.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We'll take another quick break here, but don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.
To the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, where greatness is achieved from heart-stopping moments to incredible teamwork and unyielding determination. This is more than a conference. It's a community of excellence where academic success meets athletic prowess and future leaders are forged. The Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Building character through competition.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3. I'm Cade Krackus, joined alongside Coach Geiser and Coach Owens. It's time to talk about your book, Coach. First and foremost, diving into it, what exactly led up to you writing this book?
When you retire, particularly from coaching, there's a big void of time that coaching has filled in your life. And obviously I like to hunt and fish and golf and have 12 grandkids, so it's not like I'm bored, but just trying to find something that would be significant, that would maybe serve a purpose, where you could share some ideas and talk about some relationships you built in the game, and you kind of work at your own pace. And I got into it and enjoyed it. I was lucky. I think we talked during the break. I had a chance to hook up with Larry Phillips,
which is awesome.
When, he's the writer. I asked him one day. I said, Larry, could you teach me to write? And he said, you would have more luck teaching me to play cover 4 defense than I would teaching you to write. So I go, okay, that's fine. So, but having him, Larry's, he's the editor of the Richland Source, Ashland Source, Knox Source. He's a long-time area sports writer. Yeah. He's written 2 books on his own that have done really well. And so really having him to work with was a real plus.
That's awesome. And you talked about off air with me a little bit about kind of just the process of you getting into it and whatnot. I mean, were there days where you kind of felt like you couldn't write, or days that you felt like, hey, I can write 40 pages today?
Yeah, 70% of the people who begin to write a book, either they don't finish, or they can't get published, or they lose money. My wife was convinced I'd fit into one of those three. I wasn't sure which one it would be, so we haven't made any money yet, so it might be that one. But we did get published and we did finish it. And there's days when you just go and get a different ideas. You carry a legal pad around. What about this? What about that? What about adding that story from this team or another story from another team and then. We really went through a couple different publishing companies, because we had this one agent and publishing company. He said, we want a memoir. We want it more to be about your career. And the more I thought about it, and Larry and I talked, it's like, I'd rather talk about my career through the relationships of the coaches and the players I coach with, and the CEOs I worked with and support our program, like Dwight Shar and Dan Niss, that built those facilities that we have over there at AU right now. And I was convinced no one's going to read my story anyhow. But to tell your story through relationships, I thought it'd be pretty powerful. Coach Geiser and I both have this book on our desk that's called The Edge by Howard Ferguson, a longtime wrestling coach out of St. Ed's High School. And it's a book that's filled with motivational quotes. It's a book that's filled with inspirational messages, motivational messages. And I wanted to. That's the sort of book I wanted. Yeah. I wanted a book you lay it on your desktop, and when you need to pick up a motivational story or a quote or an example of a team or a person who did a certain thing, you could find it. The only thing I did a little bit different than Howard Ferguson is the stories I talked about, and the heroes and CEOs and the champions, I wanted to be people that I had a relationship with, so that when Larry and I sit down and talk with them 3 or 4 hours, I think they would be more willing to share their personal story. And it would be a little more significant, because I'd been a part of a lot of their story, and obviously then I could talk about how our relationship grew together. Yeah,
and this question's for you, Coach Geiser. You were able to read the book, and you were able to make sure that it was given out to all the players and all the coaches on staff at AU. Were you able to take away some of those things that Coach Jones is talking about?
Absolutely. It was kind of a neat situation reading the book, because I was there for a lot of it. And I knew a lot of the people, I have friendships with a lot of people in that book as well. So, it was kind of it's neat to see it in print. But after reading, Coach had me read a rough draft of it, and I thought, you know what, we're going to buy a copy of this for the whole team. And what we did is we actually went through, there's many different sections in the book that pertain to Ashland football. Okay. It's something neat we can do with the tradition we have. And so as a group, we would assign, every night, or like a handful of the nights, any of the chapters that pertain to Ashland players or Ashland coaches. And it was kind of a neat dynamic, and I had each of the accountability teams, they would answer basically 3 questions about each chapter. Number 1, what were the 3 most important things that you think were conveyed in that chapter? Then number 2, what was the most surprising thing you might have read in there? And then the third one was kind of tying it all together. It's, what can I take out of this chapter and incorporate in my life as a player, as a teammate, as a person? And just kind of have each of the teams talk about it, write it down, get it back to me. And we would also take some time and share that amongst the team as well. Mm-hmm. And it's neat to be able to do that. So, now the guys actually know, they've heard the name of Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Packers, but now they know his story when he coached at AU. Steve Clinkscale, Dwight Shar. You see Dwight Shar's name on the complex. Now you know his story, his backstory. You see, the Niss facility, the indoor facility, and you find out about Dan and Brenda. So it's neat to be able to tie all that together, and it just helps, incorporate guys, feel the pride of being a part of a tradition like Ashland football.
And Coach Jones, is that special to have people treat your book in that way? Is that something that you expected to happen, something that makes you feel good?
It does. The feedback I've been getting has been outstanding. From the level of guys I've coached with, like Coach Geiser or Coach Fickle or Coach Gillum, who wrote back, just text back, a few days ago. But our publisher had a meeting on the phone with Larry and I early this month. The book wasn't released until September 2nd. He said, we got good news. He said, first of all, your book has already had more orders and more sales than any other books we have right now in our publishing company, which was good to hear. And number 2, we're getting lots of calls from athletic departments, school superintendents, literally getting calls from college's sports management department, a sports leadership group that wants to look at the book and see if they can build it into their curriculum.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not only the feedback from the people I know, but to be able to reach out and to try to get that book into the hands of many, leaders, leaders in sport or leaders in business. We're all part of a team, and we all want to do the best we can do and try to help our team be, as good as it can be. And I think that's why the book is really for a lot of people.
Yeah, and speaking of that, who is your target audience? Is it everybody?
Well, I think it's coaches first and foremost. I think it's CEOs second.
Yeah.
I sent a book. I don't know how many people know in the area. It's Ben Ferguson. He's a publisher of Bendon Publishing here in town, and a great friend of mine. I sent him a book. He also is the head basketball coach at Hillsdale High School. And Ben got the book, read a couple chapters, and he says, as a CEO and a coach and a publisher, I'm going to tell you this right now, this book is awesome. So that's good. That's an audience out there. Leaders in business and leaders in sport. But again, leaders at home, and we're all part of a team. And so whatever we need to do to be a better leader, be a better team leader, pull groups together, pull people together. So we did our whole life. That's what Coach Geiser and Coach Rossini is doing right now with their team. He's trying to get everybody together, get them on the same page, believing in the same things, fight for the same things. It's not complicated, but sometimes you need to put it down in print to see a step-by-step, tried and true path to how we do this.
Yep.
Of course. And, another question I have for you is, what's next for you? What's the nenext steps for you? Are you going to write another book? Are you going to keep promoting this one? What's the deal?
I think we're going to work really hard to get this one sold, and we're getting a chance to get out. And we're doing a lot of book signings, a lot of podcasts, travel a little bit, and all that good stuff. So. But we'll see where it goes. I do not see another book in the future. That I don't see. I'm getting used to this extra time I have, and so I'm not sure I want to spend another year and a half trying to figure out, Larry, how can I make this? I want to say this, but how can I put it down in print so it makes sense in the next 2 or 3 paragraphs?
That's awesome. Well, if you had kind of a message to anyone else who's out there, maybe writing a book, maybe trying to tell their own story, or get an impact that you're creating right now with your book, what's your message to them?
Go for it, do it. I mean, we were talking to Ralph Tomasi the other day on the golf course. Ralph Tomasi has written the book, The History of AU Football.
Yeah.
Again, it's did really good. But he stopped right when I got hired. Okay, so there's 20 more years of football there, and all. Coach Geiser's here. I mean, write another book, Ralph. Go for it. I think we got him talked into it.
Good.
Sometimes it's just good to capture history. It's good to put your thoughts on paper, and it's a little bit of legacy. That's a neat part. I don't know how much time we've got, Kay, but the last chapter of the book, we'd had 10 chapters on the building blocks to team excellence, and we hadn't included any kind of female leaders, a CEO, business, and the publisher said, we need to have a girl in this book. Yeah. And I got the perfect person, Sue Ramsey.
Yep.
What a great story.
That's a great one.
And her story to come not only about the legacy she left in women's basketball, we don't have to talk about that, but the legacy she leaves in life every day and the kind of person she is. So it's really neat to be able to tell her story and some of the stories of some of the other legacies at AU in the final chapter of the book.
Now she's also writing a book.
I know.
It's coming out in the near future, too.
I think we inspired her to do that. I really do.
Yep.
So she's excited about doing it.
That's hilarious. I love it. Well, my final question for you, Coach Owens, is there any stories that were not in the book that you'd like to tell right now? Anything that comes to mind?
There's the stories I didn't put in the book I can't tell.
I love it.
See, Coach Orsini shaking his head. He knows which ones I'm talking about.
I love it.
And the thing you said about Sue, too, and you asked a minute ago about future, Sue and I both have had a chance, once we retired from coaching, to go out and do a lot of speaking on team building and leadership. And that's another reason for having the book. It does give you some validity in that world. If you write a book and it sells pretty good, and it opens up other doors to go in and speak. And I really think I'd like to do that a little more than just writing another book.
Of course. Well, Coach Owens, thanks so much for your time right now.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll step aside, join you back here soon. Up next, EJ Teal will be joining us to talk more about the Eagles' loss to UIndy and what's to come moving forward. Make sure not to go anywhere. We'll be back here soon on the Eagle Network.
Budget, save, invest. A plan to help you make smart retirement choices today. Your future self will thank you.
This ad has been provided by Donald M. Graham and Associates, where our dedicated team will help you meet life's complex financial challenges. Call today to schedule your visit at 1-800-322-6116. Securities and advisory services are offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3. I'm Cade Krakus alongside Coach Geiser, and now EJ Tia. EJ, thanks for joining me.
Hi.
It's good to have you on here. So let's talk about the UND game to begin here. Obviously a tough loss, but the defense fought through and through. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm really just proud of our defense, honestly. We fought from the start to the finish, and one of the things we really preach is we want the game to be in our hands. You know, we didn't have the greatest outcome that we wanted to, but I was just really proud of our defense. We've been fighting through injuries and just really sticking together, building that brotherhood, that camaraderie. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Coach Geiser, what were you seeing from the game that Tia was putting out there?
He's going into his second year as a full-time starter, just seeing the progression, the maturity, and the confidence more than anything else. And it's almost like the game has slowed down for him at this point. Now, the thing that people don't see is all the time he puts in watching tape and in preparation. And that's part of the reason with the way he practices and his ability that the game has slowed down for him, because he knows what to expect at this point. It's been neat to see that progression.
Yeah, and EJ, I think the big thing about the first 2 games of the year has been the momentum. It's been shifting back and forth between the 2 teams, and it's been very competitive matchups. How do you stay composed out there as a defender?
Honestly, just trusting in myself first, and then trusting in and buying in to what our coaches are preaching to us and our game plans. You know, Coach Rose talks about handling the chaos. Like, we know going into the game, like, our mentality is like they can't win if they don't score. We don't want to let up any points, but you know they're gonna make some plays, and how you respond. And honestly, like Coach Geiser says, my 3rd year here, 2nd year being a starter, being more confident, confident in your abilities in the playbook, trusting in the guys around you, it just really wears off on everybody.
Yeah, and what have you seen from Coach Rose? You know, we talked about it last week on the show, but he's not for everybody. But he's definitely one of those coaches that makes everybody better. What's your experience been like?
Coming in as a freshman, it was definitely an experience, and he's definitely an old school guy. He definitely knows that himself, but just hearing his pregame speeches and like the core values he preaches, it makes you just want to I feel like anybody on our defense would run through a wall for Coach Rose, and honestly run through a wall for anybody from top to bottom.
And you look at the chance to play at Week 3 at home. What's that like for you?
There's nothing like an Ashland home game when you run out Jack Miller Stadium and you got Tuffy and the purple and gold smoke. It's definitely an experience, but it definitely means a lot, and we're excited.
Perfect. I'm going to put you on the spot here in front of Coach Geiser. Traveling trophy, what does it mean to Ashland?
When I came here, the biggest thing was really took over me was honestly honoring the history and the alumni before us. That's what Coach Geiser talks about, and that's one thing I'm really starting to believe in. We have one of our own alumni in the room with Coach Ash, somebody who just played a decade ago, who was walking literally in our shoes. So just seeing alumni come back in the locker room before games and just seeing how much it means to them, it makes you want to go out there and bring it home for AU.
And Coach Geiser, how happy are you that these guys are understanding what you talk about when it comes to history?
It makes you feel good, that maybe they're listening a little bit to what you're preaching, because this was the way we finished the team meeting on Sunday. After we turned that page on UND, it's like, okay, hey, we actually took, Coach Jones was talking about Ralph Tomasi's book.
Yeah.
We actually took the article out of there, and I've updated, because it's about 20 years old.
Yeah.
But just to give them a sense of what this game means to other people, to the alums, to the boosters, to our fans. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. This is a red letter game, for them. And I want the guys to have a sense of that so they can treat it with the respect that it deserves in their preparation.
Yeah, and EJ, when you take a look at the team as a whole, obviously you want to go 1-0 every week. We're going to get that out of the way. What are the goals for the defense this year?
I feel like it really just dates back to last year. We didn't like the way the season ended. And like I was saying earlier, we really, if the game is in our hands, that's how we want it. We don't want to put any more pressure on the offense or have to deal with anything other than that. So we didn't like the way things ended. We had a good off season. I'm one of the leaders that stepped up. But we also got other leaders like Isaac Brooks and Jelon that also took huge steps forward, in my opinion. And we're just hungry.
Yeah, and when you're out there defensively, who's your favorite guy to be next to? Who's your favorite guy to line up next to you?
I feel like be like Mike. I feel like everybody wants to be like Mike Shimmick. That's a guy I really want to play next to. But another guy I like to talk about is Ben Hosawful. We go back, we're in the same grade, same class, we was in the same dorm freshman year. So we're in the same major.
There you go.
So I see him every day, but I'm definitely two guys I love playing next to.
Perfect. And my last question for you: what's it going to be like on Saturday at Jack Miller Stadium? What should the fans be excited to see from the Eagles?
They should be excited for us to come out and fight from start to finish.
Great. Well, appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll step aside. We'll join you back here soon. As a reminder not to go anywhere. You're watching the Eagle Network and the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3. I'm Cade Krakus, alongside Coach Geiser, and now Coach Orsini. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Cade.
It's great to have you on. Every time I always look forward to this one. Such a joy to have you on the show. So to begin, let's talk about just the year as a whole. We won't focus on you yet, but what have you seen from just the safeties this year so far?
Yeah, super proud of those guys. I've told a lot of guys as players and coaches on staff, but probably the deepest room in terms of just depth, in free safety, rover, what position, all three of my positions. The deepest I've seen since I've been here, whether I've been on offense or defense, and really proud of those guys, just the way they stepped up in games. We've had a lot of adversity so far this year, and they've really answered. Obviously, last week we know they didn't finish the way we wanted to, but outside of that, I thought they've really stepped up to every challenge so far, and I know that success will continue as the year goes on.
And let's talk about something that's kind of come out more and more recently. Just the names of these positions. Sometimes people don't know what they do. Free safety, rover, whip. What do each of those do?
Yeah, so our rover in our defense is our boundary safety, which is what EJ plays. Our free safety is always our field safety, and then the whip is the overhang to the field, which is a Sam linebacker in a lot of 4-3 defenses, but in our 4-2-5 structure, he's more of a DB. So a big corner or a more athletic safety usually plays in that position.
Yeah, Coach Geiser, what have you seen from the safety so far this year? Is it kind of similar to Coach Orsini said?
I would think so, yes. I mean, when you incorporate somebody, we had a couple transfers we incorporated, with Izzy Vasquez and DJ Butler. And just the seamless assimilation into the room has been tremendous. And when I see those guys now, I see a very, very tight unit. And that's the thing that's really impressed me is the chemistry. Because when you add two players to the room and you have returning starters and guys that have performed to a certain level, a lot of times there can be a lot of bruising of egos. I haven't seen that. Mm-hmm. I've seen guys that have bought into kind of the team ethos at this point and are really rooting each other on. And it's been pretty special to see because that means you're ready for great things.
Perfect. And you know, something else we talked about with Coach Tabor actually last week, Coach Orsini, was you know, the balance between, you know, when your defensive ends do good, your safeties kind of get a break to catch their breath, and vice versa. Yeah. What have you seen that this year with that defensive line, and specifically Michael Shimmick, who's just been incredible this year?
Yeah. Oh my God, having those guys makes our job easy. You know, in the back end, we always tell our guys, you got to really defend for 2-3 seconds, and usually the ball's out or they're sacked at that point. So you know, we always recruit the best of the best in Ohio. That's our goal. And not only do we think we get the best recruits, but we also have the best coaches at the D-line. You know, Coach Taylor, Coach Sockman, I think they're, you know, some of the best in the game. And they continue to develop those players, and we continue to have success with those guys.
And so in order to the fact that we can turn a new cheek, let's talk UND for just a second here. Yep. You know, talk about that game. What went wrong on both sides of the ball? What did you notice, and what are you guys going to take and try to note down for the game against Hillsdale? Yeah,
so defensively, you know, I thought we knew we were going into a very tough battle with that quarterback, that offense. You know, one of the best in the nation, and we always love those challenges. That's why we play teams like that early on. And I thought we were holding our own for a while, and when you got great players like they do, you know, they got scholarship guys too, right? Yeah. And they just made a few more plays at the end, and we all know football, it usually comes down to 4 or 5 plays to decide the whole thing, and unfortunately they were just able to make a few more plays at the end, and we just let some things slip, but you know, that's football sometimes, so we just got to learn from it and grow from it.
And you know, moving into this Hillsdale game, what are you noting down for the safeties in order to have success?
Yeah, so Hillsdale, you always know they're going to come in with a certain type of physicality, you know, a lot of respect for those guys every year. We know they're going to get their best just like they're going to get ours. And they just got to show up. You know, we always talk about matching energy. It's a rival game. They got to show up, match energy, because we know Hillsdale is going to come in with a lot of fire. And we just got to continue to meet that. So those guys are going to have to tackle, cover, and continue to be the leaders of the back end.
And you know, I got to ask it, traveling trophy.
Yeah.
What's it mean to you?
Yeah, so I wasn't an alum of Ashland, you know, but coming here, the traveling trophy, once we got back into the GMAC, started playing Hillsdale, just a tradition that these alums talk about. I mean, it's just a special game for them. It's always a special game for us too, just because it is our one trophy game. So we know, again, that they're always going to give us our best. We're always going to give them their best, and yeah, it means a lot with the tradition and just the game. You know, it's always a competitive game, and we love, you know, having that competition.
And Coach, guys, you know, we've talked about how you try to instill the history and what it means to the players. Mm-hmm. Is that something you have to do with the coaches as well, or do they all kind of understand that as well?
Well, when you're teaching the players, you're also teaching the coaches. Now, the one thing that's been nice is we've had a great consistency and continuity at the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to, like, for example, add in a Chris Julian or an Evan Kirkpatrick as your graduate assistants, they've learned it as players. You talk with Dom, and you're here in your 8th year now, I believe, which makes me feel really, really old.
That's crazy.
So he's heard those stories through the years, through Coach Owens and also through myself. You know, and Coach Rose has been here 15, 16 years. Coach Stacy, you know, off and on for almost 20. So having that continuity, they know that stuff already, you know, because they've heard it so much. And so it makes my job a little bit easier because they can help sell it as well because they live it, they breathe it, and they understand it as well.
Yeah, and Coach Orsini, I was actually about to ask that. I couldn't remember if it was 6 or 8 years that you've been here, but you know, you talk about 8 years being here. What's Ashland mean to you?
Yeah, it means everything to me right now. You know, in my career at this moment, my wife and I, we just bought our first house in Ashland, and I just feel super blessed to get a call from Coach Geiser when I was at Franklin and Marshall, and to be able to interview with Coach Owens and to learn from both these guys and a guy like Tim Rose. You know, I just feel super blessed and just super happy to be here and wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Last question for you. How nice is it to be at home this weekend?
So nice, so nice. We love being road warriors, don't get me wrong, but nothing like EJ was talking about, nothing like playing in Jack Miller Stadium.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
We'll step aside, join you all back here soon. As a reminder not to go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3, right here on the Eagle Network. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3. I'm Cade Krakus alongside Coach Geiser and Coach Owens. Well, thank you, Coach Owens, for coming back on the show.
It's Hillsdale week. Come on.
I know exactly. This is the best part. So we're going to talk about traveling trophy and also loop that into our Q&A segment. So that if anyone's got any questions out there for either you or Coach Geiser, we can get that all in one. So first and foremost, let's talk traveling trophy. Your thoughts on the history of the traveling trophy and what it means?
Well, the one thing, you don't have to look through Coach Tomasi's book or go back through any programs to figure this out. You want to play that game at home. There's no question about it.
Yes.
I know you've had 2 tough ones on the road already, and it's just nice you don't have to go on the road a third time, particularly against Hillsdale, because I'm going to tell you what, we battled that team, and they twice they cost us undefeated seasons up there on the road, twice. And honestly, we played them pretty good at home over the years.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good that we have them home this week.
Yep, yeah. I would definitely agree with that. They play with a certain, and always a fevered pitch whenever we play them. You know that just through the years, but even more so, it's amplified at that stadium up there, Muddy Water Stadium.
Yeah, and Coach Owens, I actually had a question come in earlier today that it was directed towards you when you come on the show, and it's, is there any specific memory of the traveling trophy that stands out to you? Any matchup that is kind of stuck and burned into your head, either good or bad?
Well, it's always bigger than the coach. It's bigger than Coach Otterbein and Coach Owens. But there was this one year where Coach Otterbein had won the game up there, and he stood outside and he lit up a cigar, his victory cigar, and that cigar burned hard in my heart. I'm thinking, I'm going to have me a cigar in my back pocket next year. And as soon as this game's over, I'm going to light that sucker up and have my own victory cigar.
I love it.
Little motivation on the side, but it's bigger than the head coaches. It's about a rivalry that goes way back. 2 teams that are very similar, 2 universities that are very similar. Great respect academically, great respect politically, great respect athletically. Had some unbelievable coaches through the years, Hall of Fame coaches, and they play the game for the right reason. They play it the right way. I don't know if this is still a tradition or not, Doug, in the last couple of years with the new head coach at Hillsdale, but we would traditionally finish every game, win or lose, with a team prayer in the middle.
Still do it. In fact, I talked to Coach Schreffler this morning about that, and about shaking hands at the end, and gathering together to say a prayer together at the end of the game. And that's probably the neatest thing about the rivalry. It is heated. It's like playing your brother. As Coach says, it's 2 sister schools, a lot of the same mission statement, a lot of the same kids recruited by both schools.
Yeah.
And you fight like cats and dogs during the game. You compete like crazy. And it's one of those proverbial throw the records out the window. I know it's cliche. That works in this game. But at the end, you shake hands, you lock arms, you say a prayer on the logo at the end of the game. That's what makes college football special, is to be a part of games like that.
Any questions from those in attendance? Anyone got one? If you do, the mic is over here to the right side. You can go up to it and ask a question.
So you guys have been coaching together for a long time. What is your guys' favorite moment coaching together? Both of you.
Our favorite moment together?
Yeah.
Coach Geiser and I?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I can say one.
Go ahead.
I can say one. Anthony Taylor and the Ashland Eagles go to play Grand Valley up at their place, and we cleared out the student section before halftime. And I couldn't find you at that moment. I found Reggie Gamble, who had played in that game, and their student section is a snake pit. And for us to be able, we were playing very, very well, and for that student section to be empty by the end of halftime, I needed to find somebody who played in that game so they understood it. But for me, that's probably one of the best moments.
He's one of my favorite players. I texted him, just a few weeks ago, going into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Yeah. As a running back.
Yep.
He's as good a person as he is a player. Mm-hmm. He was tough. He's durable. I had a chance to recruit him. I was his position coach, and I had a chance to call plays back then. I made sure he carried the ball a bunch because when you put it in his hand, you knew 2 things for sure: he was going to get positive yards and wasn't going to let go of it. He was going to hang on to it. Yeah. So, yeah.
And you know what? I would probably say another one: the very first playoff win. Because we qualified for the playoffs in 2007, went out to Central Washington, and unfortunately got beat there with that group. But the very next year, 2008, to be able to play Minnesota State Mankato on Community Stadium and come up with a playoff win, the first playoff win in school history.
Yeah, 2-time defending national champs.
Yes, yeah, that was pretty special. Pretty special.
If I could take us out of Ashland for a second, if you don't mind, we take a step back to Akron.
Yeah.
You can. We had to win, and Coach Geiser on the staff is coaching the tight ends. And, we're at Navy, and
yes.
and we're down 28 points. It's their homecoming. Roger Staubach delivers the game ball. We don't have a chance. There's no way down 28 points in Navy. They're the top rushing team in the country. You're not going to get the ball back, 3 or 4 times? And we scored 31 on the next point, 31 points at the end to beat them, win our 6th game, our first winning season, keep our jobs, get a new contract. It was a celebration.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
But I just remember the excitement and just the look on the faces of the coaches when I come back into that locker room after that win. That was a pretty special moment.
Yep.
Thanks for the question. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And a question I got earlier today from 88.9 WRDL to you, Coach Owens, was how have you kind of taken the way that college football and college sports has evolved over time? Good or bad, positive or negative, just your thoughts.
Yeah, it's college football has never been more popular than it is right now, but it's at the crossroads, I believe, in terms of what we're doing with the image and likeness contracts with the players and the portal that's available to the players. I know there's a lot of talk about it. I know it's in the hands of the politicians right now, which kind of concerns me because the politicians don't get it right very often. I'd rather be in the hands of football players and football coaches to kind of sort out what we need to do. It needs to change. It's really difficult today. Players need to be compensated. I'm all in favor of that. But there needs to be some kind of ceiling. There needs to be some kind of governance and part of that. Players should have the right to move from one place to the other, but there has to be some kind of control over when and how. I would like to see the game even move to more of a professional deal where you sign a contract with a player and it's for so much money and for so many years, and they have to, basically both sides have to honor the contract. Because right now, I don't think what we're doing is going to be sustainable with the game over the long term.
Of course, yeah, for sure. Any other questions from those in the audience? Anyone have any questions? If so, go up to the microphone.
I have a question for Coach Geiser. So Coach Owens talked earlier about how his book focuses a lot on relationships, leadership, and legacy. If you were to write your own book, what were some of the first things that you would want to write about?
Very good question. I haven't even thought about writing a book yet at this point.
Keep good notes.
I will definitely keep good notes. Definitely, I'll study Coach's book here. I would say this, probably a lot of the same things. I'm a big believer in relationships, and as a coach, you got to personally be able to connect with your players, especially in this day and age of portal and transfer and that sort of thing. I think it's very, very powerful if the players know that you know their name, you know their story, you know where they're from, and if you have the head coach talking to you and he knows all those things, and he will give you a free rein to talk with him, have an audience with him. That's building that relationship. So now they know they can trust me with what I'm trying to do, and I know what motivates them, so it allows me to coach them better. So I think it would probably be something along those lines about delving into those relationships and how you build those relationships and get a chance to call a winning culture from that.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And turning into another side of things, I got to ask you, Coach Owens, any other favorite college football teams outside of Ashland or those mentioned in your book?
I grew up in the state. I've been a Buckeye my whole life.
Okay.
I had a chance to coach there. I've loved that tradition. I know that history really well and been part of a lot of the players that have been part of that history. So I've got a grandson who's there right now cheering for the Buckeyes. So it's hard for me not to cheer for the Buckeyes. It really is. And I think the things Coach Day is doing right now are unbelievable. A lot of people don't realize his use of the portal last year was, and the money, he has more money to spend than anybody else right now for the image and likeness contracts, but he used most of his money to keep his players home. Wow. He built that culture the right way, and he wanted to keep those players around. And he, instead of going out, he went out and got a couple of players, don't get me wrong, but the vast majority of the players that he won with, they were his players that he compensated through the money. And I thought that was a smart thing to do on his part, and I'm a big fan of his and the way he coaches.
Yeah, and this is my final question for the both of you. I will start with you, Coach Owens. What's been the biggest thing that you've taken away, going into retirement and missing the most about football and even coaching?
I get asked a lot, how much I miss it. I don't miss it on the tough weeks. And I'll be honest with you, those tough weeks were harder for me to, you might end up a 9-2 season and those 2 losses would stick with you and you couldn't, the other 9 wins just were minimized, but those 2 losses you just couldn't get rid of. I don't miss that part of it. I think what I miss the most, and it's a short term, right at the start of the season. It's just, football's kind of in the air. You can just smell it. Summer's over. It's football season, and the anticipation of getting those guys in the locker room for the first time and to kind of say, here's how we're going to do this thing. Here's our goals. Here's where we want to be, and here's what's going to take to get there. And just kind of kicking off that season initially with that team and meeting those players for the first time, and then getting there in camp and just kind of watch them all come together. I miss that for about a day or two, then I'm back out boat fishing again. So.
There you go. Coach Geiser, my question for you is, what do you think you're going to miss the most about it when you obviously hang it up eventually someday? Maybe, who knows? Maybe stick it out for
Is
forever.
there something you need to tell me at this point that I need to be aware of?
Coach Geiser, I'm letting you go.
Okay. I wouldn't even know how to answer that at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, you know me, you're gonna laugh when I say this. It's kind of a week-to-week thing. I'm worried about Hillsdale at this point. I'm not worried about the things that I can't control. That takes energy that I don't need. When Hillsdale needs that at this point. But if I had to say one thing, if I had to speculate one thing, it's probably the relationships with the players.
Yeah.
Those are the special things that you call through the years, and being able to see guys come in. Sometimes I've had a chance to recruit a lot of the players on the team right now when I was an assistant, and to see somebody like an EJ Tia come in, 17, 18 years old, and very talented, thinks he knows everything, but he doesn't. And that's not a knock. That's any freshman that comes in. But to see them now going into his 3rd year and to see his confidence, and he's starting to figure out who he is and who he's not. He knows what he stands for, and he knows what he doesn't. He knows how to solve problems. He knows how to communicate and build relationships. He knows how to be successful. So he set himself up well in life. And we have a number of players like that on the team. And that's probably the part I would miss the most is, being the day-to-day interaction with those players.
For sure. Any other questions from those in attendance before we conclude our Q&A segment?
So when it comes to the game of football, y'all obviously both played, and now that y'all both coached, what is some the game that's taught you as a coach? Because for us players, we look at the game from a different perspective from coaches. So kind of just overall, what has the game kind of taught you now that you're in a coaching standpoint and out of that standpoint?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would start out. I go back to the book. The reason I wrote the book is a story about a young man named Carl Johnson, who was a young man who didn't have a chance in life without football. Grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and had a really tough situation. Football saved his life. And he's turned into being an amazing father. He's turned into being an amazing husband. He's a CEO. I talk about it in the book. Football, to me, has always been more of the purpose and the significance to those players who play the game and what it can mean to them, what it can do for them, how they can grow from it. It's just so important. It's more than just a game to me. It's a way of life, and it's a way of growing. It's a way of learning, and to me, that's what football's always been, more than just X's and O's and wins and losses. It's been about the difference you can make in the lives of the young men you coach. What's Coach Rose say all the time? To be a dealer of hope to those guys who a lot of times don't have hope in their life.
I'm going to sound like I've been with Coach Owens for 28 years, okay? So I'll reiterate some of those same things. What I would say is you learn that football is kind of the vessel more than anything else. I will tell recruits this, I tell people that ask this, I am the head football coach at Ashland University, yes, but football is just my vessel, okay? I see my job to help young men achieve excellence and a standard of excellence in every aspect of their life. And we talk about this among the team as well, not only on the field, but in the classroom, in the community, in your family. Those things are important. So I think what you learn is football is important. When you're a player, you kind of identify yourself as a player. I am, Doug Geiser, the football player. I'm Keo Perry, the football player. I'm Cy Colvin, the football player. But actually, the part that you realize when you become a coach, you're more than that. And getting the players to realize they're more than just that. And that when that realization comes, it's very, very powerful. So that's probably the biggest thing you learn from it is, you know, you go from being the center of your life and how you identify yourself to, hey, it's just a portion of who I am. It's just not who I am. It's just a part of who I am. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Any final thoughts from you, Coach Owens? It's the final segment for you.
Hey, it's our home opener, man. It's Jack Muller Stadium. You know, they talk about the purple smoke coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fans, students being all there. It's, you know, it's a great spirit and great time to get that first conference win.
Yeah.
And nothing else is important at this point, right? That's where its focus is at, 100%.
Absolutely.
Sing that fight song at the end and ring that victory bell.
Yep.
Baby, there's nothing like
Nothing
winning.
like it.
There's nothing like winning.
Nothing like it. Yeah.
Well, Coach Owens, I gotta give you a chance to. Where can people buy your book if they want to?
Amazon. Yes, go to Amazon. I do have a couple here if you want to buy. It's the same price, but you get it signed. So,
there you go.
Amazon. Lee Owens, the spirit of a team.
Perfect.
Thanks for asking, Kate.
Yeah, of course. And thanks so much for joining us, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll step aside. We'll join you back here soon. It'll be me and Coach Geiser to wrap things up and send you guys into Hillsdale this coming weekend. Don't go anywhere. Right here on the Eagle Network.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust, done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 3. It is the conclusion of the episode. And with that, we conclude our discussion on UIndy.
Yep.
So whatever you got, leave it out here.
Well, I would say this, probably the lesson that I think the team learned in that game, and we talked in training camp that we can beat every team on our schedule.
Yeah.
We can also lose to every team on our schedule. And when you go into a venue like an IUP and you go into a venue like Indianapolis, very proud tradition, really good football team, you can't make the mistakes that we made during the course of that game. Okay? Offensively, you can't turn the ball over. Okay, that's probably the most important thing. You got to understand those situations, and sometimes you got to throw it away, sometimes you just tuck it and run. Okay, and you got to show up for all 4 quarters. You looked at it really, if you break down the offense, they showed up for 2 of the 4 quarters, and unfortunately, the one quarter they didn't show up for was the 4th quarter where you got to finish. Okay, and credit to their, UIndy's defense. They're a really good defense, very well coached and great players, and you got to perform in those situations. And then also defensively, as Coach Rose, we were talking yesterday during our staff meeting. They played tremendous for 56 minutes and then couldn't get them off the field at the end of the game. Now, credit to Gavin Sukup and UIndy's offense. A tremendous player. He'll get some All-American consideration. He's a Conference Player of the Year in the GLBC last year.
Yeah.
but you got to make those plays in that situation. You can't turn the ball over on a punt return. Okay, you got to understand your circumstances at that point. So we had too many self-inflicted wounds to win that football game, and that's no disrespect to Indy. I mean, Indy showed up like a champ. They played like a champ. They came back at the end. So credit to Chris Keevers and his staff. But for us, hopefully we got that message out of there and that experience out of there. Hey, when it comes to time to focus and time to win the game, you got to make those plays. You can't make mistakes.
And I've asked everyone but you, so I'm going to ask you now. What should we expect from your side against Hillsdale this weekend?
Well, I'm hoping with 3 practices starting tomorrow that the guys will have a good sense of what the tradition of this game means and where that impacts you is in your preparation. Are you willing to make that extra film study? Are you willing to make that little extra time on the field after practice on your own? Are you willing to lift a couple more sets in the weight room to make sure your body's right? Getting the rest you need and hydrate and all those sorts of things. Do you respect the rivalry enough to do those things, knowing that we're going to get better than what we've seen on tape? That invariably happens when you play Hillsdale. They're going to play better than what they've shown on tape because it's Ashland. And so you've got to be ready to match or exceed that enthusiasm, that competitiveness, and that verve and that fire, or else you're going to get embarrassed.
Yeah, it should be a big game for you, and we can obviously have all the coverage at Flow College, multiple radio stations picking it up as well. It'll be full coverage of AU football this coming weekend. But big episode we had here today. It was a big one for
Absolutely.
episode 3.
I mean, Coach Owens knocked it out of the park, and we expected anything less. And EJ Tia, his first real opportunity to be on the show, I thought he did a very commendable job.
I agree.
Coach Orsini's practically a co-host at this point.
That's
He's been
what I'm
on
saying.
So many times.
He
Either him or
should
Coach
join
Coral.
us. Yeah.
But and then also I kind of want to mention going forward, we'll have guests like that from time to time. Members that have been a part of Ashland's football history. I talked to Gary Keller this week, and Gary's going to be on an upcoming show. So stay tuned on social media and the marketing for that. You won't want to miss that episode. Another great coach in the history of Ashland football, Gary Keller.
Yeah, and normally we always say thanks to all of the Ashland University football sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings here in Ashland, the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. The fortunate thing about all of those individuals and all those people in the organizations that they're a part of is that they'll have a chance to come on here, talk about their organization for 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll talk about kind of their organization. We can talk about how with their thoughts on AU football, things of that sort. And that starts here towards the end of September into early October. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to come out here and join us at Buffalo Wild Wings. Join us online and tune in live. We do have it over on the Eagle Network, like I mentioned, but it's just a great opportunity to connect further and more deeper with Ashland University football.
It's neat to be at a place where you can embrace those relationships and that tradition. And it means something. It's not just hearsay. It's not just empty words. It means something to the people who have come through the halls and also the people that are here right now.
Well, Coach Geiser, thanks so much for your time again, as always.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Kate.
And thanks to Coach Owens, Coach Orsini, EJ Tia, and all of you who else were out there tuning in and joining us for this exciting episode of the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.